You tell me when we begin.
A few seconds. Yeah, I think we can get started. Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dhanavad Pranam. Happy Sunday. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thanks for giving your valuable time to the congregation to hear from your lotus mouth. I still remember you gave a wonderful class last time on how you came to Krishna consciousness and which had so many miracles. So it was so wonderful. Thank you once again. And to the people on Facebook, we are very, very fortunate. We have Ameyatma Prabhu, who is a direct disciple of Srila Prabhupada, which is very valuable for us. So he's going to give us a class on a beautiful topic on importance of Varnashram Dharma. So please hang on and follow the journey. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. All wish you well. Jaya Kunja Jaya So I've chosen this topic on Varnashram Dharma because, well, it's needed in society. It's needed anyway. But for the reasons that Srila Prabhupada gave, it's much more needed as we progress in this age, in this time, because we just went through a very, we haven't even finished yet, this election process, and that's very contentious, and the whole, the social fabric is practically unraveling in the West, in America. And we're familiar with the four Varnas, devotees are familiar with the four Varnas and the four ashrams. So Varnas are our occupation, what we do. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 13, Chaturvarnyam maya shrishtam gunakarama vibhagasa tasya karatham api imam vidya akkaratham avyayam. According to the three modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the four divisions of human society are created by me. And although I am the creator of the system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable. So these four Varnas, they're there in all societies. The working class is the largest of the class. The most numbers of people are always in any society is the working class, the Shudra class. Then the Vaishya, the merchants, business owners, the landholders, the farmers, then the Kshatriyas, the administrators, the government, and the highest class, the head of society, is the Brahmins. And they're there in society in different ways because teachers, professors, teachers, they're all to be in the Brahman of the Brahman class. Doctors, lawyers, because they are in the Vedic scripture. The scripture is the law, and it is the duty of the Brahmins to study the scripture, to study the law books, and interpret the law books. And the judges, all of these are Brahman positions in society. And they're there in modern society. And the chapter Varnam and the chapter ashram, the 4 ashrams, student life. There's students. The grihastha life, there's marriages, there's couples, and household life, and vanaprast, retirement. Not so much sannyas, but that isn't what separates that's not the only thing that is separating modern culture from Varnashram Dharma. But the 4 Varnas are pretty much are there in society. They're there. The Varnas are there. Pretty much the ashrams are, except for the sannyas. So what is the difference then? Why Varnashram Dharma? And the main thing of Varnashram Dharma is that 3rd word, Dharma. Dharma is, well, actually, before I get to that, let's discuss actually a little bit more. Krishna says, according to the 3 modes of material nature, one belongs to a certain Varna. Let's discuss that first before we get into the Dharma, because the 3 gunas, goodness, passion, and ignorance, and especially with computers, but artists, they deal with 3 primary colors. And on computers and electronic devices, they deal with 3 primary colors, red, green, blue. When you're dealing with light transmission, the primary colors are red, green, blue. If you're dealing with paint, opaque paint, then it's red, yellow, blue. But those are the primary colors. And from those primary colors, from those 3 colors, like red, green, blue, you can get on a computer screen with, there's 256 shades of red, 256 shades of green and blue. So with those 256 each, you get 16 million colors, over 16 million. And if you have a 48-bit color file, you can get 281.5 trillion colors, shades, different variations from just 3 red, green, blue. And these 3 gunas, goodness, passion, and ignorance. So the colors are called red, green, blue on light transmission. So I call the 3 gunas the GPI, the goodness, passion, ignorance. Just like you have red, green, blue, you get any color. From GPI, you get any mode of nature, from the most ignorant to the pure goodness, and all the passion in between. So you get, like in different animal species, it's like you can think of it as that like a dog species is just a certain color. It's just within a range of a certain colors and shades. Cats are a certain other shade and color. So all these different species are the mixture of the 3 gunas, goodness, passion, and ignorance. And in human society, we have a broad spectrum of the colors. There can be very gross ignorance, there can be very pure goodness and pure passion. There's so many different varieties in the human species. We're like open, we can go through the whole colors. But the Varnas are determined by that mixture of goodness, passion, ignorance. And the Brahman the Brahman Varna, the Brahmins, their qualities are, well, let's Samodhamas tapas socham. This is from Bhagavad Gita 1842. Samodhamas tapas socham shantir arjavam evacha jnanam vijnanam astatyam brahmakaram asvabhajam. So these are the qualities of the Brahman: peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, wisdom, knowledge. It's a knowledge of the Vedic scripture. It's mundane knowledge, but mostly knowledge, spiritual knowledge, and religiousness. And these are the qualities by which Brahmins work. So as I was saying, we have in society doctors, lawyers, teachers, professors, all of these are to be Brahmins. But in today's society, they are not, have the quality of a Brahmin. They're in taking the position of a Brahmin, but they don't have the quality of a Brahmin. Most of them are not self-controlled. They don't practice austerities. They don't have purity of mind, purity of consciousness, purity of heart. They're not very tolerant. And what is the nickname for lawyers today? Liars. You know, they're not honest. And they don't have knowledge of the scripture. And they study their own laws, but they have no knowledge of the scripture. Varnashram Dharma means you take these 4 varnas and the 4 ashrams and you codify them with Dharma. And that's what I was going to say, that the Dharma is what is the most important aspect. Because today we have, like I said, we have Brahmins. We have people in the position of a Brahmin, but they don't have the qualifications of Brahmins. And what defines a Brahmin? What, like here, Krishna gives, what are the qualities of a Brahmin? He gives the qualities of the Kshatriya, the qualities of the Vaishya. The Kshatriya is heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, and leadership are the qualities that work for the Kshatriyas. And for the Vaishyas, farming, cattle raising, cow protection, and businesses are the qualities that work for the Vaishyas. And the Shudras, they offer the labor to all the other classes. So what is the qualities are given? They're given in scripture. They're given by Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita. They're given in the Manu Samhita. They're given in scripture. They're given in the, and that is those codes, those regulations, that is Dharma. This is the Dharma of a Brahman. This is how a Brahman, the qualities of a Brahman, that he's peaceful, he's truthful, he's clean, he's self-controlled, he's tolerant. All of these, he's knowledgeable of the Vedic scriptures. He has spiritual knowledge, realization. These are the qualities of a Brahman. So what is lacking today in society, it isn't the Varnas are lacking. The 4 Varnas are there. Krishna's created the 4 Varnas. They're in all societies. The ashrams are pretty much there. There's not the sannyas, but there's students in school. There's married, grihastha life, householder life, and people retire. There's that aspect. The next step would be sannyas. But pretty much the Varnas and the ashrams are there. What is missing in today's society is Dharma. And that is the rules and regulations that, first of all, codify what are the qualities, and second, what are the duties? What are the duties? Well, that's given in both, like the duty of a Kshatriya, heroism, power, determination. These are duties and they're the qualities: resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, and leadership. So I've been interested in this topic of Varnashram Dharma since 1974. In 1974, I was, for about 2 weeks, I worked with Krishna Kanti. Krishna Kanti ran Prabhupada's tape ministry, the Bhaktivedanta tape ministry. His studio was called Golden Avatar. It was at the LA Temple, and he needed some assistance. So for a couple of weeks, I was helping him until Bhardraj came and I started the Fate Project. That I was some tapes. Well, okay, so what he trained me is that we get tapes from Prabhupada's lectures and morning walks, and I don't know, twice a week or so, we would get a package of tapes from Prabhupada's servants would send them of his lectures and as they were going on. And so he trained me. We get the tapes. First thing you do is like they come in a reel to reel, a 5-inch, I think it was 5-inch, 3-inch, 5-inch, reel to reel. They came in a small reel tape. We put them on a big reel to reel tape deck, play it, and then we'd have another reel to reel tape deck, and we'd make master copy. That was the very first thing we do. As we're making the master copy, he had some cassette decks, and we would make several cassette copies of the tapes. And so that was the very first thing we did, to make a copy of the tape, a master copy, so the original will stay. And as we're making those copies, we're listening to the tapes. So the very first, after he trained me, the very first tapes, he had to go out one day to get supplies, the labels and the cassettes and all. And so he was gone for the whole day. And the tapes came in, and the shipment came in. It's the only shipment I ever handled. It was in 1974. And these recordings that came in, and I put them on, making copies and listening to it, they later became known as the Varnashram morning walks in Vrindavan, Varnashram morning walks. And for about 3 or 4 days during the morning walk, Srila Prabhupada was discussing with different GBC members there Varnashram Dharma. So I became interested. I heard the tapes just as they came in. And I became interested in the topic, of course, from that day forward. Here in 1974, back in 1974, Srila Prabhupada actually said, as he was talking about Varnashram Dharma, he said, I want that in every one of my centers, every one of the ISKCON temples, that we institute this Varnashram Dharma immediately. That was 46 years ago. To this day, no temples have implemented Varnashram Dharma. He wanted us to set up schools where we teach, because he was creating a class of Brahmins, the teachers. We become the teachers. We start schools and we start teaching others. We teach what is the quality of a Brahmin. Why should one become a judge or a lawyer or a doctor, a priest? These are the quality. They have to, first of all, have to be qualified. They have to have the qualities of a Brahmin. If someone is posing as a Brahmin, posing as a lawyer, a liar today, a lawyer, or sorry if someone's a lawyer out there, but I'm just giving what the slang is, today, because there's so much untruthfulness in the court systems. Try to get your client off the hook. So a lot of times, people tell lies in the courts. This is not truthfulness or honesty. And Brahmins are not hired. You don't hire a Brahmin. Brahmins live by charity. So if we establish Varnashram, and let me say a little bit about establishing Varnashram. Why would we? Why do we care about that? Srila Prabhupada in his last, I don't know if exactly when it was, but in the last month, the last weeks of his time here, Abhiram, who was he was senior devotee, and he was with Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was telling him that only 50% of his work had been completed. It's just weeks before Prabhupada left this world. Only 50%, only half of his work, he said, was completed. That means all the translation of all the books, the starting of the temples, establishing the deity worship, establishing the festivals, establishing the Rath Yatras, the festivals, the Ekadasis, all of these things. Everything that Prabhupada did, Prabhupada said, was only half of his mission. The other half was to establish Varnashram Dharma. So for his disciples, that's our duty. His followers and his disciples, he gave us that as our mission. And we are not doing it. What have we done? Where is these Varnashram colleges and all of Prabhupada's temples? He told us to start them immediately in 1974. And where are they? A couple of devotees have tried to start something. Shouldn't say there hasn't been anything, but not on the scale that Prabhupada wanted. And we have to understand Varnashram Dharma, first of all. And as I was saying, the most important part of Varnashram, because a lot of times when we think of Varnashram Dharma, we think of devotees think of farming, farm communities. But Varnashram is the 4 Varnas, the 4 ashrams. It doesn't mean just farming. That's just part of the Vaishya. So why do we, equate Varnashram with farm communities? It's the community part that Prabhupada talked about, having our own communities, so that and rural communities, so that we can establish our own society based upon the Dharma of Varnashram Dharma, Sanatan Dharma. Prabhupada would use these 2 terms interchangeably, Sanatan Dharma, Varnashram Dharma. They are both based on Dharma. And so yes, the need, well, first of all, we have to have an interest if we are following Prabhupada, because Prabhupada wanted us to do this. And when we understand it and we started researching it, so from 1974, I had an interest, but I didn't have access to much. And, the Prabhupada's books and the lectures, but, to be able to see it and be able to research it specifically didn't come until years later. But in the 1980s, mid 80s, in Los Angeles, a number of us, Virabahu, Gaur Keshava, myself, or Bindanath, a number of us devotees started having meetings on Varnashram Dharma on our own, just and discussing it. But then in 1990 or late 80s, the BBT was working on the database. They had digitized all of Prabhupada's books, most of his lectures and morning walks, everything was completed. And, I'd say 95% of it, and they had it all on one hard drive on one computer, no copies. So I had a computer business, so I donated a tape backup system to the BBT so they could have tape backups, make backups of all the work they had been doing. There was one hard drive, if that went out, we would lose everything. So but one of the, Rajendranath was in charge of the BBT at the time. So I told him I'll donate it, but with one condition, that I get a copy of the work. So around the end of 1980s, beginning of 1990, I had, outside of the BBT, I had the first copy of what is known as the Vedabase, Prabhupada's digital copies of these works. And so I started researching. The first thing I started researching was Varnashram Dharma. And that's when I realized the main part of Varnashram Dharma is the Dharma. The Dharma is what defines what is a Brahman, what is a Kshatriya, their qualities and their duties. And all of that is from Dharma. So as I said, we have people who are acting as teachers, professors. That's guru. That's guru. That's Brahman. A teacher is a guru. And so the professors are actually gurus in that sense. They're teaching. But they don't have the qualities. Most of them do not have the qualities of a Brahman. Therefore, they're cheater Brahmins. They're not real teachers. They're not real qualified teachers because they're not Brahmins. Only Brahmins are to be teachers. Only Brahmins are to be doctors. Only Brahmins are to be lawyers or judges. They give advice to the king how to manage. They are the interpreters of the scripture, of the laws, and Manu Samhita is the law book of mankind. That is Dharma Shastra. So that is the importance of Dharma. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhayuthanam adharmasya tad atmanam srijamyaham paritranaya sadunam vinashaya chadushkritam dharma sampanatarya sambhavami yuge yuge. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, Dharma, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion, adharma, at that time I descend myself, in order to deliver the pious and annihilate the miscreants, as well as to reestablish the principles of religion. Dharma. I advent myself millennium after millennium. It's Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verses 7 through 8. I hope you can hear me. He's doing some work outside. What was I going to say? I think it'll be all right. So yes, Krishna advents himself when there is adharma, and to reestablish the principle of dharma. Srila Prabhupada had said, in this current age, Sri Krishna has advented himself, and he is in the form of the holy name. Krishna has appeared currently in this age of Kali Yuga in the form of the holy name. So in the form of the holy name, he is coming to reestablish the principles of Dharma. And when Srila Prabhupada said half of his work was completed, only half, the other half is to establish Varnashram Dharma. The most important aspect of Varnashram Dharma is Dharma, the religious principles. So this Dharma, religious principles, it doesn't just end with what is the qualities of a Brahman, the qualities of a Kshatriya, the qualities of Vaishya, etc. But it also includes, as Prabhupada had said in the Manusamhita, the Manusamhita is the law book of mankind. And Prabhupada made note, I also was reading Manusamhita and saw all the laws are there, inheritance laws. There's a drunk driving law I saw in the Manusamhita. Drunk driving. It's there in the Manusamhita. It says that if one is intoxicated while driving a cart, a vehicle, what the punishments are. If one is ignorant, not ignorant. If one is just an accident, he has to replace the value of it, of what he has damaged. If it's negligence, then he has to replace, I think, 3 times. And if he's intoxicated, it's 5 times the value of what he's damaged. So it's there in the Manusamhita, all of these different things. That is why the Dharma Shastra, the scriptures, they are the law books for mankind. That's why a Brahman is the lawyer. The Brahman are the judges. That's the quality, those are the positions of Brahmins in society. And if they don't have the qualities of a Brahmin, they shouldn't be taking that position. And that's the universities that we are to establish, to teach what is the quality. We should be turning out those real lawyers, the real judges, the real doctors, who are actually have the qualifications of a Brahmin, who are qualified Brahmins first. The most important thing needed in society is the head of society, and that is the Brahmin class. The Brahmins are the head, the Kshatriyas are the arms, the long arm of the law, the mighty arm of the law, that's the Kshatriya. The belly is the Vaishya, and the legs are the Shudra. They get us where we need to go. They take directions from everything should be given direction from the Brahmins. The Kshatriyas take direction from the Brahmins. Everything comes from the Brahman. That's the head of society. Therefore, Prabhupada's main purpose, that other 50% of his work to be done was to establish Brahmins. And then Brahmins, we establish our schools and our universities, and we teach. So it doesn't require just Varnashram in a farming community. But the reason we equate Varnashram with farming is because if we have our own communities, we can establish these principles of Dharma within our own communities. And we can live by these principles ourselves. Here in the modern cities, it's very difficult. We have to be part of the city. We have to have a house. We have to pay for the house. We have to have cars. We have to go to work. We have to So we're part of the whole society, and we can't just unplug ourselves. And that's what he wanted for the farming communities, is for the devotees to live there, not just a resort, a yoga resort where you have people come and just teach yoga. No, he wanted the devotees to live in those communities so we can practice ourselves and live by Varnashram Dharma, that we can live by these principles, the simple living, high thinking. We can't do that in the cities when we're having to, even in Alachua, I was talking with devotees. I lived in Alachua for 7 or 8 years, 9 years. And even there, we were saying, you can't unplug from society. You have to work. You have to have, all these expenses. You have to have your, internet. You have to have this. You have to have that. You have to have cars. You have to have insurance. So you have to be part of the whole society, and you can't just unplug. And you can't live simply. We need communities where we can live simply, and have these Varnashram colleges where we're teaching, where we're training out, where we're putting out real Brahmins and real Kshatriyas and real, even the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas and the Vaishyas are to be Brahman. They're to have Brahman, at least the knowledge of Brahman, and aside from the mundane aspects of their Varnas. So, as I was saying, Dharma is what really makes up Varnashram Dharma. And I was also saying that, but in today's society, most of the Varnas, all of the Varnas are there, the 4 Varnas are over there. Most of the ashrams are there. So, then what really is the difference? So yes, it's Dharma, but then what is that Dharma? What is that Dharma that sets Vedic culture and the Varnashram culture, Sanatan Dharma culture? What separates that from today's culture? Because most of the Varnas and ashrams are there. So what is it about the Dharma? And there are some aspects of Dharma, as I was just saying, no one should be a teacher, no one should be a professor, no one should be a doctor, no one should be a lawyer or a judge unless they have the qualities of an actual Brahmin. But there's other aspects of social Dharma, because what Dharma is, they are the laws that regulate society as to what is right and what is wrong in society, what is acceptable socially and what is not acceptable. But today we're living in a society which is mostly adharma. There are so many adharmic activities going on, so many people who think that this irreligious thing is okay, it's acceptable, it's fine. And there's other aspects that are actually of Dharma, that are given in the Dharma scriptures, that are proper. People think, oh no, that's wrong, that's horrible, that's got to be forbidden in society. We make laws against this. And so there are some aspects of Dharma which are very controversial in today's world, politically incorrect, you would say. And of all the Dharmas, one of the most important aspects of Dharma, and I'll read from Bhagavad Gita, I'll just read some of the verses. Starting with Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1, text 39. This is actually Arjuna speaking, but the knowledge is perfect. And starting with text 39, I'll just read the text. With the destruction of the dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligiousness. If you destroy the family, then irreligion will come. Today, I was hearing, not today, but in the recent history, recent times, the Black Lives Matter on their website, they've taken it off, but on their website, one of their things they wanted to push forward was that they were saying that family life, marriage, that's a thing in the past. It's no longer of any value socially anymore. there's you know, they want to do away with this idea of marriage. Recently, in the past few days, I saw the Black Lives Matter are trying to promote this idea of no prisons. They should abolish prisons. What are you going to do with people, murderers, and you know, the worst of mankind? What are you going to do with them? You can't abolish those. They want to abolish the police, defund the police, no prisons, no. It'd be total chaos. This is why you need a head of society, a head who understands these things. So with the destruction of the family, the dynasty, then, you know, all the other members become involved in a religiousness. Text 40 of chapter 1 Bhagavad Gita. I'll just read the English. When irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become polluted. And from the degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Vrishni, comes unwanted progeny. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, good population in human society is the basic principles for peace, prosperity, and spiritual progress in life. Good population, that is the basis of spiritual progress, of peace and prosperity. The Varnashram religious principles were so designed that the good population would prevail in society for the general spiritual progress of state and community. Such population depends on the chastity and faithfulness of its womanhood. As children are very prone to being misled, women are similarly very prone to degradation. Therefore, both children and women require protection from the elderly members of the family. By being engaged in various religious practices, women will not be misled into adultery. According to the Chanakya Pandit, women are generally not very intelligent, therefore they are not trustworthy. Now, I know we're getting into something I said politically incorrect, but I'm reading what Prabhupada has written in Bhagavad Gita. This is purport. Because, as he said, women are easily misled into a degraded life. It's unavoidable. We see things on the internet, and you know, so many people, they are able to mislead women into such degraded adultery. So different, probably I'll go back to the purport. So different family traditions of religious activities should always engage the women, engage them, and thus their chastity and devotion will give birth to a good population eligible for participating in the Varnashram system. On the failure of such Varnashram Dharma, naturally the women will become free to act and mix with men, and thus adultery is indulged in at the risk of unwanted population. Irresponsible men also provoke adultery in society, and thus unwanted children flood the human race at the risk of war and pestilence. And these things are just at our doorstep. Pestilence, we already have the COVID. They're saying there are so many COVID type, SARS type illnesses that could spread in society at any time. We could be fighting 2 or 3 different COVID type diseases at one time, but they're saying be prepared that it could be one after another, could be waves of them coming. Pestilence, wars. We're on the verge of war at any minute, have been for a long time. Prabhupada said they have so many nuclear weapons, they will be used at some point. All of these things they have built up. So there's going to be, at some point, some great calamities coming. But why is this happening in the world? Because a lack of Varnashram Dharma. And this idea, though, that women require protection. Srila Prabhupada was giving Actually, he was in Mauritius. It was his second trip to Mauritius. And one Indian man was on a morning walk with Prabhupada. Prabhupada speaking with him. And he said, so where's your girlfriend? You had, last time Prabhupada came to Mauritius, that Indian man had some girl with him. So, where's your lady friend? And Prabhupada said, oh, Prabhupada, sometimes you say things that are very difficult to, accept. And Prabhupada, what was that? And he said, because she asked you when you were here, do women have equal rights? And you told her no. So he said, she went and asked some other guru, some other Bhogi yogi, some other Swami. And he said, oh, yeah. Men and women, they're all equal. Everything is equal. So he said, no, she goes with him. She doesn't want anything to do with you, Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, but we cannot compromise on religious principles. We cannot compromise on our philosophy. So he said, why? Why? They're not equal? Because he said, you can see, physically we're not equal. We're not the same. Now, and then he said that men, they don't get pregnant. Women gets pregnant. That's why she needs to be protected in society, to protect from unwanted progeny, from this unwanted progeny. Children who are not wanted, the Vana Sanskara, they bring society down into a hellish life, whether it be war, pestilence, diseases. This is given in the Vedas, and we're coming, but why should women be protected? Because they can get pregnant. And if they're not, and men should be trained to protect, to give protection, and to take care of the women in society. That is what Dharma, really, the main Dharma of all the Dharmas, that is the main Dharma. Arjuna was giving this to Krishna. He was saying, I shouldn't be fighting these men, because if I kill all these soldiers, then the women will be left unprotected. And when they're left unprotected, it will cause the degradation, the family life will be finished. The women will become taken advantage of. There'll be adultery. There'll be so many things, unwanted children. So Arjuna, Krishna, I shouldn't fight. Of course, there was a higher principle of having to reestablish just basic Dharma. So Krishna told him he had to fight. Besides, Kali Yuga was coming. It was unavoidable at that point. But this knowledge is there that protection of the women, that is the most important Dharma. But like I said, there are certain things in Dharma that are politically incorrect. But we need to understand it. If we are to be followers of Srila Prabhupada and execute his instruction of establishing Varnashram Dharma, then we have to understand what is Dharma and how to establish it and why it's important. Again, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying, an increase in unwanted population certainly causes hellish life for both that family and for those who destroy the family tradition. By evil deeds, those who destroy the family tradition and thus give rise to unwanted children, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated. And the purport Prabhupada says, community projects for the four orders of human society, combined with family welfare activities as they are set forth by the institution of Sanatana Dharma or Varnashram Dharma, are designed to enable the human being to attain to his ultimate salvation. Therefore, the breaking of Sanatana Dharma by irresponsible leaders of society bring about chaos in that society, and consequently people will forget the aim of life, Vishnu. Such leaders are called blind, and the persons who follow such leaders are certainly will be led into chaos. This is from the purport to Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1, text 42. So the protection of the women, protection of their chastity, to take care of them, to make sure that they're protected in society, that's the number one Dharma, social Dharma. But the other politically incorrect idea is that Prabhupada teaches women are never to be given independence. They're always to remain dependent under a man, in childhood under the father, in youthful life, a husband, and in older age, they should be protected by their son. At all times in life, women are to be under the protection of a man. In modern society, they say, no, women are equal. You can't do that. In devotee women, Prabhupada disciple even, disciples, they've said, why women need protection? Why not men need protection? But Prabhupada said, because the women get pregnant. That's different. They're different. Men don't get pregnant. You can't say equal. They have to be protected. That chastity has to be protected. The chastity is the number one most highest quality of a woman. I've had devotee women who said, it's not important, I mean, they're just, anyway. But we need to understand, so we need to teach Dharma, because that was half of what Prabhupada's mission is. Establish Varnashram Dharma. Establishing Dharma is the most important aspect. And in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, 1273, this is from a purport. Prabhupada is saying, the actual Vedic system of religion is called Varnashram Dharma, as confirmed in the Vishnu Purana. Varnashram Chara Vata Purushena Parapuman Vishnur Andayate Pantananyat Tattosakaranam. The Vedic literature recommends that a human being follow the principles of Varnashram Dharma. Accepting the principles of Varnashram Dharma will make a person's life successful, because this will connect him with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the goal of human life. Therefore, the Krishna consciousness movement is meant for all humanity. Those who are demoniac, they do not know what is to be done or what is not to be done. They are neither cleanliness nor proper behavior nor truth is found in them. So, in every human society, there is some set of scriptural rules or regulations that are to be followed. And in our culture, we follow the Vedic scriptures. Those who do not follow Vedic, the scriptural injunctions, they're demons. Prabhupada's giving in the purport. They're demons. And most of them, they don't know even what the scriptures are. And they have no tendency to follow it. They have no faith in the Vedic scriptures, nor are they willing to act in terms of Vedic injunctions. Demons are not clean, either internally or externally. As far as the behavior, there are many rules and regulations guiding human behavior, such as the Mano Samhita, which is the law of human race. Even up to today, those who are Hindus, they follow the Mano Samhita. Mano Samhita is clearly stated that a woman should not be given freedom, not be given independence. That does not mean that women are to be kept as slaves, but they're treated like children. Children are not to be given freedom, but that does not mean they are kept as slaves. The demons have now neglected these scriptural injunctions, and they think that women should be given as much freedom as men. However, at every stage of life, she should be given protection by the father in her young age, by the husband in her youth, by her grown-up sons in her old age. This is the proper social behavior according to the Mano Samhita. But I'm reading from the purport of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. But modern education has artificially devised a puffed-up concept of womanly life, and therefore marriage is practically now an imagination in human society. The social condition of women is not very good now, although those who are married are in a better condition than those who are proclaiming their so-called freedom. One of the women who started this whole, feminist, she was communist. She was a member of the Communist Party, and she was out there preaching like anything about women's rights or women's rights. I can't remember her name now, but she died. She only had one son, and she pushed this whole thing of no religion in the schools, taking out God out of schools, she was pressed for that very much. And when she died, then her one and only son, who was the one she was trying to defend to get religion out of schools, he became a Christian priest. He took up Christianity. And he was saying that his mother was totally miserable. Her whole life, she was just living in misery. Nothing satisfying her. So this is the condition. Modern women today, they're not that happy. And yet it's an imagination that they're better off now with their freedoms than they were under Vedic culture. Under Vedic culture means under Varnashram Dharma, under the principles of Dharma, where women should accept that they should be under the care of a man and have not got independence. Prabhupada again continues, the demons therefore do not accept any instruction which is good for society, and because they do not follow the experience of the great sages, they do not follow the rules and regulations laid down by the sages, the social condition of the demoniac people is very miserable. So, as I was saying, Vedic culture, the Dharma aspects are controversial. They're not politically correct. But that is our mission, to establish Dharma. That is what Prabhupada gave to his followers. He said only half of his work is completed. The rest is to establish the Dharma. It's a lot of work ahead of us. So I'll just try to end up here, but there's a couple other controversial aspects of Dharma that are connected to the protection of the women. And one of them, I'll just read, this is from a class that Srila Prabhupada gave in August 1972. Srila Prabhupada is saying, so actually human civilization begins when there is Varnashram, Vibhagasa, the 4 Varnas and 4 ashrams. Here is Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha. Unless human society is scientifically divided into the Varnashram system, it is an animal society. It is not human society. Therefore, Varnashram is stressed. Not others who are not within the category of Varnashram. They are animals. So when human society comes to the system of Varnashram Dharma, then they can think about God. Otherwise, it is not possible. Animals, how can they think about God? Because you are all first-class boys and girls. Therefore, you have come to hear about God. Now, if you call first-class dogs, they will not come. That is not possible. So unless human society is organized by Varnashram Dharma, it remains animal society. And in animal society, you cannot expect any intelligence or any sense of goodness or any idea of God. That is not possible. So when you come to the system of Varnashram, this is by nature. It is creation of God. Just like in your body, there are 4 divisions: the brain, the arms, the belly, the leg divisions. So how can you avoid it? That is natural. Unless you have got brain, your head is cut off from the body, then what is the value? It is a dead body. Similarly, at the present moment, there is no Brahminical culture. Therefore, there is a very strong armed development and a well-equipped economic development of labor. But because the head is not there, it is a dead body. Therefore, the whole society is suffering. There is no Brahman or head. We are creating Brahmans so that the society may be saved. We are not creating rascals. We are creating Brahmins. So if you are all responsible, if you know your duty, try to save your society, especially in your country, America. This is Prabhupada speaking in 1972. You come to the Brahman position and then you save your country. By God's grace, you have enough of everything. And you have got good intelligence also. Otherwise, how are you coming? Unless you are born of intelligent father and mother, how are you taking this? So we are creating first-class nationalists in this Krishna conscious movement who will save your country. We are not creating cats and dogs and bluffing the society. We are actually creating first-class nationalists of your country, real scholars, We don't decry material civilization. No, we say that. Yesterday I was on the beach and I was talking with Karender. Now I'm going to say something. Prabhupada did not stop. He's talking about this in one sentence, one paragraph, and one breath. He didn't stop or pause. He's talking about creating first-class men who will save your country. And then he says, I was talking to Karender yesterday on the beach. Why does your country not allow men to marry more than one wife? He said, they think it is immoral. Karender is saying they think it is immoral. I do not know what is the ethic or psychology behind it, but giving the opportunity for girls to become prostitutes, to engage in immoral activities, yet to marry more when that is moral, yet to marry more than one wife is immoral. You see your leaders, this is the leaders. Why? Because there is no Varnashram Dharma. They do not know. The Brahmins, the Kshatriyas, they are especially allowed to marry more than one wife. At least every woman will have the chance to have a husband. So it is a scientific system, and they are killing it. In India, it was there, and still the rascal leaders, they are killing it. Classless society. How can you make classless society? They are dogs and cats. How can you make classless society? It can be made in Krishna consciousness because we accept Krishna as the supreme master, the supreme protector. Bhaktaram yajna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram. Then you become classless. So you have to become devotee first. But this protection of the women, that is Dharma. As Prabhupada says, Varnashram, Dharma. And that is part of it. So, as I said, if we establish Dharma, it is very controversial. It's getting a little late. The class is running long, so I want to end. But another aspect of Varnashram Dharma is for the girls to be married at a young age. Prabhupada's younger sister was married when she was 9 years old. Is 9 years old, but they don't live with husband. But as soon as puberty, then they live with husband. That's the Vedic system. That's the Varnashram system. This is what you'll study when you study Varnashram Dharma. You study Dharma. The main Dharma is protection of the women. When you understand the Dharma, it means all the girls should get married. All the girls should get married at a young age. 9 years old. Prabhupada's sister. Prabhupada's wife, he married. She was 11 years old when Prabhupada married. His older sister, Pishama, when she turned 12, his mother, Prabhupada's mother, told his father, the daughter is 12 years old and not married yet. She said, I will throw myself in the Ganges. You have to get her married immediately or I will commit suicide. The mother was saying, get the daughter married. She's 12 years old and not married. That was a society just a little over 100 years ago when Srila Prabhupada was a young man, young boy at that age, that girls were married before puberty. And Prabhupada was saying, he was talking on June 28, 1977, just months before he left this world. Prabhupada was saying that mostly the parents went to, I won't read the whole thing, but most of the parents went to get the boy married. But the responsibility is to get the daughter married. The boy, they want to get married because they know, Prabhupada is saying, they know that a married man becomes a responsible person. One who's not married, a man who's not married, not that responsible. Once there's marriage, once there's a wife, then the man becomes responsible. So the parents went to see the boy get married. That is, and even a poor man, Prabhupada said, even if he's a poor man, if he gets married, then he work. He has to work. He has to maintain. So, so then Prabhupada said, therefore in India, the father and mother. Okay. So then Prabhupada says the father and mother know that the son will take care of his life automatically once he gets married. And the girls, they are not allowed to mix with a boy. Even the boy is not allowed to mix with second girl. They are kept strictly. And when they're grown up, they're allowed to mix. In other words, you get them married at a young age. They don't mix. They don't even talk to one another when they're married before puberty. But then once they're grown up, they're allowed to mix, and then the affection becomes firm. That is the psychology. The psychology of a woman is that before puberty, If she has got a boy, then she'll love him forever. She'll never be unchaste. So these marriage things are very psychological, they're very scientific, and they may become happy and a peaceful mind combined together, good cooperation, and they make progress spiritually. That is the plan, Varnashram Dharma. It is very scientific. And Krishna says, I am that. Whatever Krishna gives, that is perfect. Today, nobody cares, and they're all suffering. So Tamal Krishna told Srila Prabhupada, so you are introducing again to the world, there is good hope. And the young girls in our society, they should be promised to some boy in the same way by their parents. They are talking about before puberty, before the girl reaches puberty. And Prabhupada was preaching this for the devotees to practice this. And he agreed. Prabhupada said, and if required, one man can take more than one wife because the woman population needs protection. So these are the Varnashram Dharma, but these are the aspects of Varnashram Dharma that nobody wants to preach today. Nobody wants to put forward that, yes, they accept these things because they're politically incorrect. Even amongst the devotees, they think these things are incorrect. But these are the principles of actually the most important principles of Varnashram Dharma that have to be established because the protection of the women is the most important Dharma of Sanatan Dharma and Varnashram Dharma. And so I think, though, I've given quite a bit on this class, I think I will end it here. And that's just basically scratching the surface. I don't know if there's a way to take questions or not, but
Prabhuji, thank you so much. So if anyone on the Zoom have a questions, please unmute yourself and you can pose any questions.
It's okay if there's not. It is controversial in that sense. Some of the points are controversial, but that's what is the difference between today's society and Vedic culture? That's the Dharma. That sets the rules for what's acceptable and not acceptable. Obviously, Vedic Dharma is going to be different than today's adharmic society. So I think I will end it there. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for your time. I know, as you said, definitely there are many controversial topics, on the surface. If we just take by line, it may sound controversial, but we need to substantiate with more surrounding information so that can be understood in a better way. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's because it's a very broad topic, and you can't just present it all of it at one time because it's a very broad topic. But these are the basics why Varnashram Dharma needs to be established and why Srila Prabhupada wanted us to do this. He wanted us to save the society, which is now more than ever needing to be saved. All right, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah.